What's going on, everyone? It's Marsellis back with another video. So today we're going to be talking about render token. That's RNDR. So we're just going to go over a brief summary of what it is, and we're also going to go over some of the new stuff that's happening, and we're also going to go over some of the testimonies from the people that are actually using this, because render, unlike a lot of tokens, actually has a use case. So we're going to be talking about this. Definitely hit the like button and subscribe. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. Leave a comment in the comment section. And definitely check out my other channel, Marsellis Travels, if you want to see my travels out here in Brazil. But anyways, let's get straight to it. So first things first, let's kind of go over the pricing for render right now. So as you can see, render is at 41 cents. The all-time low down here, you can see, is at 0.036, which is 3 cents. And then our all-time high was $8.78. And actually, you can see back here, at the peak of the whole pandemic thing, we had a huge pump here inside of render. So that was pretty huge to see. And I'm just hoping that it could do the same thing going into the next bull run, because as we all know, the next bull run should be when the next Bitcoin halving comes, going from 2023 to 2024, when we transfer into that new year. Me personally, I think this year is not going to be too good for crypto, but I think it's going to take a whole year for us to recover. But that's good, because these prices right now are very good prices to get in. Even if render drops back down to 30 cents, 20 cents, 10 cents, it would still be good to get in at 41 cents. So then you can ride that all the way up to $8 if it can go back up to $8 or even further. So that's pretty much how I'm looking at this and what I'm looking at this right now for. So let's talk about a few other things here. We're at 122 million market cap. That's pretty good. $9 million, $9.5 million inside of 24-hour trading volume. That's also really good. Fully diluted valuation at $217 million. So that's pretty good. That's fairly good. We're also on Ethereum and Polygon for all the people that are new here and don't know anything about render. Personally, I'd rather do Polygon because, with those Ethereum fees, yeah, you're going to get messed up with those Ethereum fees. But as you know, most people are probably not going to be up on Ethereum. They're on not on Polygon, I mean, but they're on Ethereum. But anyways, enough of that. Let's just keep going over this. If you want to know how to get it, I know personally on what am I trying to say, on Trust Wallet. That's what I'm going to be using to get it right now, because coming out here in Brazil, I had to sell most of my cryptos to be able to travel around Brazil. But I'm going to be getting it on Trust Wallet. So you got the Polygon one, and you got the ERC20 on Trust Wallet. So you can actually buy it directly from there. Not directly, but you can buy your Polygon, swap it over, buy your ETH, swap it over. You get the drift. But anyways, let's keep moving on with this. Render's also on some main exchanges if you want to look that up. But for the people in the back that don't know about render, we're just going to talk about it very briefly, because I know most people, if you're watching this video, you might already know a little bit about render. But anyways, distributed GPU rendering on the blockchain. So I'm just going to break it down in simple terms for everyone, for all the new people. Pretty much you can rent or lease your GPU powering out to people who need to outsource this. People who need to outsource their work, people who need 3D rendering done, people who need the 2D work done, whatever they need done inside of that space, you can do it. Netflix has done this with some of their shows, and they've actually used render, and we're going to talk about that use case because that's very significant. Netflix being one of the major movie producers out there and TV show producers. Yeah, Netflix doesn't just host shows on there anymore. They actually make these shows, and they actually, hire these different studios to make these shows for them. So this is pretty good, because that means that Netflix is directly tied to render, the render network. This is huge. But anyways, over here we can just read what they are in their terms. The render network is the leading provider of decentralized GPU-based rendering solutions, revolutionizing the digital creation process. So why render? And as you all know, render has been around, since 2016. So founded in 2016 by Jules Urbach, CEO of Otoy. Render is the next step in his dream of the open metaverse. So it's pretty cool. Their headquarters inside of LA, and the render team network and those behind it have been growing and growing and growing. So let's keep going over this. Over here it says render puts the power of GPU rendering at your fingertips. So if you want to outsource that work and you want to just hire someone else with your render tokens, you can pay them in render tokens to use their GPU powering. So something that would originally took you hours and potentially days, you can outsource that work and get it done within 30 minutes using their fast GPU powering. But you just got to pay that render fee, which is pretty decent, because like someone said over here, I actually like what they said. Shout out to Crypto Scoop over here. Crypto Scoop OG said cost lowered dramatically and speeds to complete task increased dramatically, which is above 2 points and the biggest contributors to adoption of any product or service. And this is exactly why render will succeed. And that's true, because when you have these movie developers, right, a lot of them, they don't want to waste time on titles. They don't want to waste time on making like the title introduction for their movie or for their TV show. And just time and time again, we're seeing where this is actually helping inside of that realm. So this is the render Twitter page. I'm just going to kind of give you examples. I'm not going to play the sound because I don't want to get copyrighted. But over here, you can see another major title sequence done on render for Netflix's Indian Hindi language action thriller streaming series Tanav. So it was actually done for them. And you can see here, this is the motion designer and all that good stuff. And then they outsource the work to the rendering people with their GPUs. And then boom, they now have this creation for Netflix, one of these movie introductions. And this is a pretty sophisticated introduction here. So you can see something like this takes hours upon hours upon hours to render and to actually get done. But you can outsource that work using the render network, and you just use your render tokens for that network. More of these different these different testimonies. So the main title sequence for the feature film Gala on Netflix was rendered on Render Network. So this is another one here. So if you want to see the person's work, big shout out to him, Nikon Basu's work. This is his work right here, behance.net/Nikon Basu. So this is some of his work right here if you want to look at it. But yeah, I would definitely say look into the Render Network. It's fairly new, but I still think that, well, I wouldn't say it's fairly new because since 2016, but we're still at the opening stages. We're still at the starting stage. And it's the same thing with crypto. We're still at the starting phase with crypto. So this is just the beginning. We're going to have so many different new projects like this that are just making groundbreaking technology and just breaking so many barriers here. But anyways, here's this intro here for the feature film Gala on Netflix. So this is also pretty cool as well. And yeah, they used the Render Network for this. So yeah, when you're outsourcing that work like that, it's pretty efficient. And that's why Netflix is doing this. And look at this. This is looking really good. It's built really well. You had a butterfly just turn into a guitar right there. That's pretty cool. I think that was a ukulele. But anyways, this is pretty cool how they just transition everything into the next scene. And that's what this render network can do. Like, this is really high powered stuff right here. Like, this is not something that a basic, renderer could do. This is not something that a basic designer could do. Like, you need to sometimes outsource this type of work, and it can be done a lot faster when you do this, when you need this type of stuff rendered. Trust me, this one file here is probably gigabytes on top of gigabytes on top of gigabytes. Like, I don't even know how much. Like, it is crazy how much that was probably done. But anyways, this is another thing over here. So production diary number 72, they said we're done. This concludes the production diaries, all shots rendered with a render token. It took roughly 16,187 tokens to render it all. Comped in Fusion Studio, graded in Resolve. Thank you guys for the journey. So it takes a lot of designing for this stuff. But yeah, 16,187 tokens to render all of this. And let's make this easy here. 16,187 tokens times 41,0485. That's the current price. That brings us to 6,644 US dollars. So that's a fairly good amount. I will say that. But still, like, this type of work is a lot of work. Like, this isn't just some basic thing. Like, 2 minutes and 15 seconds of rendering work here. And you got to think, like, this takes a lot of computing power. And yeah, it takes a lot of work to get this type of stuff done. Netflix and all these major production companies, they're outsourcing a lot of money. They're putting out a lot of money to get this type of stuff done. So $6,000 is nothing to a large company to get this done. So yeah, this is another pretty cool thing here. Done on this channel, Cornelius, what does it say? Cornelius Nemrich. So you can check him out if you want. But yeah, this is another use case here for render. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's 2 minutes and 18 seconds, so I'm not going to go ahead and play all of it, but you get the drift here. It's a lot of different work done here. It kind of looks like Fallout for all the gamers out there that played Fallout. I definitely love that game, but it definitely looks like Fallout. It reminds me of Fallout here. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Uh, Pretty cool design and work done here. But anyways, moving on from this, this is another one right here that we have created using 7 tools, one of them being Cinema 4D and Otoy, which is render because the company for render, and for texturing, lighting, and cloud rendering. That's what it's been used for texturing, lighting, cloud rendering. So that's pretty cool. And you can see here, this is and this is just like the bare minimum of what it could do. Like a lot of the other ones are a lot more sophisticated, but this is still crazy. Just literally how everything is moving. Like to render something so perfectly like this, it takes a lot of work. So yeah, that's definitely pretty interesting. And you get the drift here. We have all these different render projects here that they've been posting. They've just been posting a lot of people that have their 3D and 2D rendering projects on here. So this is another one for these bolts here. So this is pretty cool, you know. But moving on from there, you have stuff like this and more 3D designs from 3D artists, more designs designed with a render. You can also have over here Kelper 185 or 186F. That's what they're calling this, done on Octane render. So yeah, that looks so realistic. That looks crazy. And yeah, this is the only stuff that you can only get on here. So anyways, the Octane X app for M1 and M2 iPads is also officially released. They put here on December 27th. I don't have iPad and I don't have any Apple products to be honest, but hey, it's on there right now, so that's pretty cool. And then this is just the article talking about the release of the launch for the M1 and M2 iPads for the Octane X app. So this is some previews of it from people using it and actually creating on the app. So yeah, that's crazy. And there's a lot of different things that you can do on here with the render app. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And they're literally creating literal pieces of art with this. Like, let's just leave it at that. But anyways, also something someone posted on here, coin steps. So this is pretty cool. I went ahead and zoomed in here. Shout out to coin steps here on Twitter. But we also have over here, they just kind of put a breakdown of everything that we have going on right now. So the circling supply at 300 million render, total supply of 531 million. So we got all that there. You got links and all that good stuff. If you want to read about render, you can do it here. Pretty much goes over everything I just now went over. If you want to just look at it in a broken down source here. So a big shout out to the person that posted this. And then over here, you can see rendering is the intensive computation process of generating a photorealistic image from a 2D or 3D model. So like I said, you take that 2D or 3D model. Let's say you want to take a book, for example. Let's not use a book. But let's just say you take a 2D or 3D model of the bolts, like we just now seen those bolts. And then they made a whole 2D, 3D model of it. And then boom, they put those graphics there. And then over here it says if you ever watched the movie or played a video game with real looking 3D graphics, they had been rendered. So you take these graphics and then you can make them look as realistic as you want. As video games in the metaverse grow more photorealistic, demand for rendering will grow massively, and the computing power needed will be huge. So, Render, owned by cloud rendering company Otoy, allows a person to borrow others' computing power to render images with payment via the render token. Rendering on your own machine can take weeks or months, and using the render network can be cheaper than cloud services. Render is the most widely used decentralized GPU computing network in the world and has 10,000 plus active users, including Netflix, like we just went over, HBO, and the $100 million NFT seller Beeple. So Beeple also uses it. And if you all don't know about Beeple, you should definitely learn about Beeple. So I'm going to go ahead and pull back up Twitter here because they actually they reposted a piece of artwork done by Beeple on the render network. So let's go down and find that because that was a really good demonstration of what render could actually do. Because a lot of these different artists on here, you might not know them, you may know them or not. But if you're big inside of NFTs, you should probably know Beeple. So over here, Beeple use the render network for this. So that's just pretty cool to see that one of the largest NFT collectors done this are NFT creators. So this is crazy. I mean, I'm not gonna play this all because you could probably have a seizure looking at that. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, but the amount of rendering power that it takes to do that GPU power, like, it's crazy. And yeah, I don't even want to play that. I started to get a headache just looking at it. But yeah, he said randomly hit pause, and that is the type of year you're gonna have. So yeah, a bunch of crazy stuff on there. But yeah, people he uses it, and a lot of other big giant, all these different movie creators, TV show creators, they all use it. Anyways, a recent summary showed that Render maintained consistent network usage across the turbulent past year, with more frames rendered and more RNDR used in Q3 2022 compared to Q3 2021. And as we move into the space of the metaverse and all that, in AI, a lot of people inside the render community are talking about how this could be so substantial to AI. Like artificial intelligence, this is going to be really big for the AI movement. Now, me personally, I'm not like when I think of AI or when anyone thinks of AI, artificial intelligence, we think of robots taking over humans and stuff like that. But I don't think this is anything like that. Like maybe some of the AI projects out there that people are doing are like that, but I do believe the direction that we're going in the world is AI. So they're going to be one of the leading factors here. And especially being inside of the blockchain world and the crypto world and the metaverse world, this is huge for us. So, anyways, the metaverse is an obvious focus for Render as online worlds aim to become even more realistic. And as they're trying to become more realistic and make it look surreal, they're going to need this rendering power. They're going to need it. And the vision is for Render to become the base layer of a decentralized metaverse with holographic tech as one end goal alongside multi-coin capital. Render is realizing its vision of building a broader economy for exchanging 3D goods and services in the metaverse. So this is huge. And at recent NVIDIA GTC, and yeah, I have NVIDIA right here, the GeForce RTX. That's what my laptop has. I have the Dell G15 Ryzen edition. But anyways, at recent NVIDIA GTC and Solana Breakpoint events, Jules has also explained how Render is developing disruptive NFT technologies. He discussed the potential of streaming NFTs and experimental interaction with NFTs and previewed real-time on-chain generative and remixable 3D art. So the Render network functions well as an NFT creation pipeline. And this is huge because NFTs are like the next thing. And to be able to actually create these NFTs and make them look realistic through the Render network, that's huge. Then they said, but the future is for NFTs to move away from static images towards fully interactive 3D assets. And that's exactly what Render does. So that's why it makes this amazing. Anyways, and Render Network is leading the way. So Render is a multi-chain ecosystem, but has ties with a range of crypto companies. Render has variously integrated and worked alongside with Solana, Siacoin. I made a video on Siacoin before, and Basic Attention Token, and Decentraland, and Algorand. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack here with this. And if you want to know about the team, they have it all over here. So CEO and founder Jules Urbach has 25 years of experience in computer graphics, 3D rendering, and streaming experience. He created the web's first 3D video game platform. Let me say that again. The CEO and the founder of Render created the web's first 3D game platform. That is huge. That is huge. So I think Render has huge potential here. But anyways, Render has a glittering cast of advisors, including J.J. Abrams, who is the director, producer, screenwriter, and actor of Mission Impossible, Star Trek, and Lost. That's crazy because you've probably seen all of these. I really liked that series Lost, and it was like when they were on the plane and then they crash landed on. I think this is the movie that's called because it's called Lost. It's a TV show series. They crash land on an island and then they all survive, but everyone starts disappearing. Something weird is going on the island. Something supernatural. But anyways, it was a crazy movie. Star Trek. I don't even gotta explain Star Trek to you or Mission Impossible. Maybe you're too young to know about Star Trek. I'm too young to know about it too, but somehow I know about it. But anyways, down here we have Brendan Eich, CEO of Brave Browser. And if you don't know, the Brave browser is a crypto browser where you're getting paid inside of crypto to view stuff. I mean, it's pretty cool. And then Bat Token, inventor of JavaScript and co-founder of the Mozilla project. Oh my gosh. So if you don't know, Mozilla Firefox. He is the co-founder of that project, Brendan Eich, and he's a part of the team. So yeah, well, not well, I would say the advisors, which is a part of the team. He's an advisor of the company. So CEO of Brave Browser, Bat Token, and the inventor of JavaScript. Let me say that again, the inventor of JavaScript. Let's just go ahead and fact check. Inventor of JavaScript. All right, let's just go ahead and fact check here. Brendan Eich, and he is the advisor of this project, and he created JavaScript. None of us would be on this website, YouTube, without JavaScript. None of us will be able to do anything without JavaScript, and he's literally advising this crypto company. So, and Render is far more than a crypto company. It's far more than a crypto company because Otoy or Otoy, however you want to say that, they pretty much own Render. And yeah, this is crazy though. I believe this has a lot of potential for the future. But anyways, Ari Emanuel, he's the co-founder and co-CEO of talent and media agency William Morris Endeavor Entertainment. I don't know much about that. And then Mike Wilkelman is a digital artist and NFT pioneer known as Beepleman. So, or Beeple, not Beepleman. But yeah, he is Beeple. I didn't know that was his actual name. But yeah, Mike Winkelman. So yeah, this is pretty cool. And there's an Apple partnership. So over here you can see a particular recent interest is Render's relationship with Apple, the Octane X app, a spectral. I mean, just reading this is making me want to open my Trust wallet right now and buy this. But right now I'm waiting for some of my money to clear inside crypto.com so then I can send it to Trust wallet and do all that. But anyways, it's crazy. But let's keep going over this. So the Octane X app, which I was talking about, is now on Apple Store for M1 and M2s, and that is for the iPads. But anyways, is a spectral GPU. That Octane X app is a spectral GPU renderer, which utilizes render, was showcased by Apple at a press demo in October. So they were actually showcased at the Apple press demo. So the render logo is prominent on the Apple website and on advertising for the iPad Pro M2. So yeah, Otoy has had a close working relationship with Apple for the best part of a decade. And together, they have built Octane Render, a core reason many creatives buy the Mac Pro because of this literal platform that Otoy has built. And Otoy is owned by Render. Or I mean, Render is owned by Otoy. Anyways, Jules has appeared in 2 keynote Apple presentations and has often spoken about his work with them. So yeah, if you want to buy it, they have over here Binance, Coinbase. And like I said, if you want to do it on more so of a DeFi platform, which I prefer personally, I prefer to be away from exchanges. I'll go on Trust Wallet, and then from there, they actually have it directly on Trust Wallet. So yeah, it's pretty easy. Now that's pretty much all I got for all of that. I know that was a lot. And then they have this whole page here for the year 2022 and more, which I'm not going to read everything, but we're just going to read all the highlights. So governance render network implements decentralized governance process and foundation. Like I said, we're not going to read all of it, but we're just going to look at the highlights here. Scalability improvements to the render network platform. So there's some more improvements for scalability, and this is everything for 2022. More expanded features all the way from Octane Render, API integration / differential upload, increased API functionality, creator beta tester program, fully migrated deposits to layer 2, increased VRAM options, and improved Orbex exporter. And then you have some more stuff, emerging technologies, the future of Web3 and next generation, virtual assets all the way from GTC 2022, and then down here, Breakpoint 2022, blah, 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 blah. You get the flow. So anyways, Octane X for the iPad, that's one of the biggest things. Cinema 4D and Redshift integration. And then more stuff down here, community development highlighting the Render Network community, a year of creation spotlights and projects on the Render Network. And these are all of the different testimonies. I wouldn't say testimonies, but these are all the projects, not all of them, but these are ones that they really put on the spotlight because they were true works of art. So that's why they put these on the spotlight. And then you have all these featured artists for Render and all these people that are doing amazing work. Best of the Metaverse, recognition awards. Render is breaking a lot of different breaking points, I guess, for crypto. So this is huge. I mean, no crypto has really done this. Render is really the first crypto out there to like break into this rendering space at such a high level and actually have partnerships with Apple, partnerships with Netflix, like partnerships with the person who created JavaScript. Like is crazy. You know, these are like literally people who are pioneers of the internet, pioneers of technology, and Render is working side by side with them. So I definitely believe in this project personally, and I'm definitely gonna have to pick up some inside the near future. But like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. Now I kind of want to do some predictions here. So let's just hypothetically say we were able to get all the way up here to $8.78, right? And we know we're probably going to end up going a little bit down a little bit further, but you know it's not good to try to time the bottom. So let's just say you wanted to get into render now. So let's just say maybe it'll drop down to 30 cents, 20 cents, 10 cents. But let's just say you want to just go ahead and put $1,000 in at 41 cents. So you take and divide your $1,000 by 41,0559. That's 41 cents. And that will give you 2,435 render tokens, right? And now we want to go down here and look at our all-time high, which is $8.78. And let's just go ahead and multiply that. So you would then have $21,385 if we hit our all-time high during our next bull run, which should be at the end of 2023 going into 2024. And remember, I'm not a financial advisor, none of this is financial advice. But if you think about this right here, this is actually a pretty big statement. Like, let me say that again. You can go from $2,435 to $21,385 if we just get back to our all-time high. If we get more higher than our all-time high, then that's even more of an increase inside of the price. And let's just say you put in $10,000. Well, if you put in $10,000 and then we go up to our all-time high, now you have $213,000 off of $10,000. So there's a huge potential in this. So I'm definitely gonna be getting into this even further. It's at rank 188 right now. I personally believe that going into the next bull market, we are going to have a way larger market cap inside of crypto. Let me just kind of, you know, ease this into here because I know a lot of people will be like, whoa, 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 whoa. But if you look at it right now, we have $857 billion inside of the crypto market. You can see here the total market cap is at 857 billion. Bitcoin is at 325 billion. Remember, Bitcoin used to be at like 1.4 trillion, 1.5 trillion. I think it got up to like 1.6 or something. But let's say Bitcoin goes back up there, right? Everything else below it is now going to increase substantially inside of market cap because people, they're going to start trickling their money downwards. Now, if Render is at rank 188 right now, right? And rank 188 only entails us to 123 million market cap. We got all the way up to $8.78 inside of market cap. So let's just keep doing some math here. And after this, we're going to be done. But look, let's just say you take $8.78, right? And then you go ahead and you multiply that by our current circulating supply. So look at it right here. That's 2.6 billion inside of market cap. So that's a lot of money, right? But Render hit that before. Render has been at 2.6 billion in market cap. Let me say that again. Render has been all the way up to 2.6 billion market cap at the all-time high. So that's pretty significant because if you look at the coins that are now at that level right now, let's just scroll down and look at, oh wait, no, that's all the way up here. I started scrolling down too far. That's like rank 30, like rank 28, rate 30. But obviously during the last bull run, it would have been way down here because everything was going crazy. But yeah, that just kind of puts things into perspective. You know, it's where Ethereum Classic is. You know, it'd be worth more than Stellar and Chronos at that point. But remember, Chronos at the point of the all-time high was worth way more than it is now. Like if you look over it, like over here, it's worth way more than it is now. So Render would be moving up inside the ranks, but it wouldn't just pass everything. So I'm pretty much saying this to show you that it is possible for Render to do this because everything else is going to be increasing substantially in price as well when we go into the next bull market. So it's kind of crazy because, you know, Render being all the way down here, you just couldn't imagine it being at like a 2.6 billion market cap or something. But that's possible. It already did that before. So if it hits $8.76 or $8.78, then it will be at 2.6 billion in market cap. So that's a huge, substantial increase. And obviously $10,000 is a lot to just kind of throw inside of a token. But I mean, maybe you can put 1,000, maybe you can do 100. But either way, I think there's a potential. I think there's huge potential in this. Like I said, none of this is financial advice at all. I'm not a financial advisor, but me personally, I'm gonna get in on this. I made a video on it before, but here's my next video on it. So I'm really confident inside of this, and I'm definitely trying to get in on this soon. Anyways, definitely hit that like button and subscribe. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor, none of this financial advice. Leave a comment in the comment section, and as always, I'll be back with another video.